Hildy here. Being that we're already at the DT Plashad, the playground, all these little tykes playing, it's nice. We'll talk about how kids are raised in Russia. It's pretty different. Cultural differences. I know about it. I have 3 kids. I've lived here a long time. I read a book about it. Some guy wrote, he sent me a free copy to review, and the guy wound up being some sort of influencer for the State Department. But anyway, the book wasn't about any of that. The book came out back before Maidan. He lived in Kiev. And the book was just, he ignored the elephant in the room. He just never even addressed it. I'll tell you what the elephant in the room is. The major difference between English culture, which most Americans pretty much are, and Russian culture as far as child rearing goes. It's pretty fundamental. It's all about character. The English look at a child's mind and soul and heart as a garden. You got to cultivate it. You see weeds growing up in there, you got to yank them out. Discipline, rigor, or as they call it now, training's very low frequency, but you gotta get them ready for education too. There is some training involved, but anyway, that's their attitude. And the Russian attitude is markedly different. Character, you don't tamper with it. You let it grow up naturally. Weeds, well, they're part of it, you know. They're the same way with their gardens. They have all kinds of weeds growing in their gardens, you know. They don't have a problem with them. They think some of them are pretty. They do shape things nicely, but things are kind of shaggy and overgrown and have things that we would consider weeds growing in them. And they water them and take care of them, nurture them. They're kind of that way about kids. You see the most horribly ill-behaved kids sometimes, and you know, they'll be astonished that somebody wants them to control them. They just let them do what they want. They'll get straightened out in school, but they let them be kids. There's not a whole lot of control, and if they're kind of sneaky or they do bad things, if it's not too bad, then it's just like, well, you know, that's just their character. They turn out all right. They turn out great here. They really do. Time they're in middle school, they're fine. They don't worry about it too much. They let God take care of it. A lot of you would be appalled at that, but I see it. It works. It works pretty good. It's a different philosophy. It's a different system. Can't say it's wrong. Can't say the English way is right. I try to be a little too disciplined and rigid. Always admired my cousin's family. My mom's little brother, you know, his children all called him sir. Sir and ma'am. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. And they'd snap to attention when they were spoken to, too. They don't do that here. An adult talks to a kid, sometimes they just ignore you. I thought that was horrible. I get smacked for that. You don't ignore anybody. If a bum talks to you, you talk back to them, you know, in you know, a reasonable amount of time. If they don't feel like talking back, that's just their character, you know. They really don't push that kind of stuff. The kids still learn manners. They just kind of notice things and start doing right when they get to a certain age. I don't think schools inculcating all that stuff in them. They might. If they do, it's very subtle. USAID put their people in around here when this is Ukraine. They had a bunch of agencies to help people with their children, and they were basically poisoning everything with a bunch of you know, Dr. Spock doctrine. You know, if you remember Dr. Spock back in the 50s, early 60s, they're little people. They don't need a parent, they need friends. You gotta give them little choices. Now you're teaching them to argue with you over everything. Yeah, that stuff's all gone. And I noticed it too when my oldest daughter, was in the kindergarten. I went in there and they have all these big posters that came from USAID. And they had Good Father, Bad Father cartoons, or comics, There's a comic rendering of, this big, burly, masculine-looking guy looking all intimidating and scary and mean with his fist clenched, and the little kid is cowering in front of him. Then they had a good father who was like a Ken doll. He's obviously effeminate. He literally had. They literally drew this character with limp wrists and kind of a pillow biter looking face. Yeah, that's the good father. That's USAID. Who drew that? Who pushes this stuff? They want to feminize people. Yeah. Well, I guess they got to do it through propaganda because they don't put soy in everything here. Unfermented soy is organic estrogen. In case you didn't know it. Most of you guys know. I haven't found it in anything here. Well, Asians eat soy. They're all right. Look at your Japanese culture. It's very, very, very macho. Bushido! Oh. I work with Japanese guys. They paint their fingernails. They get manicures. These are mechanics. I work with Japanese mechanics who get manicures. Yeah, they're okay. It's just their culture. It's not the soy that does that either. It's the propaganda, the commercial pop culture. East Asians eat soy that has been fermented. They don't eat any soy unless it's been fermented. When they ferment it, it gets rid of the estrogen. It destroys it. You're not eating organic estrogen. I didn't intend to start talking to you about organic estrogen, but it just came up. That's how Uncle Bildy rolls on these walkie-talkies. It's just kind of a stream of consciousness. I hope you get something from it. I hope you enjoy it. But there's a difference in how kids are raised here. There's trade-offs with everything. I really wanted my kids to be, to snap to attention and say yes, sir, when I told them something. I'd still kind of like that. I think it's good for them. It's not bad. But here it's considered really appalling. Even among military people. And I know a lot of them. You could label it, leftist and right wing if you want to. You can label anything like that, but it really has nothing to do with that. Just stop labeling things left and right, because that's how they steer you. Some things work, some things don't. Cultures make their own determinations and go their own ways. They should have their own space to do it in, and not be constantly tampered with and influenced, and have, people sticking pry bars in all the cracks to break them apart. I think just about every culture on the planet, and every tribe on the planet, every community on the planet could really shine and be a wonderful thing if they just get left the freaking hell alone. And try to build a world where that's possible. It's not that difficult. Technology can be used to do it instead of being used for the opposite effect as it is. Accountable media, accountable police powers, accountable economic powers. It's all possible. Focus the cameras on them. It could be done. It could be the core of the architecture and the mechanical infrastructure, political infrastructure of the fourth political theory. Just saying, something to think about if you want to. Anyway, just another little short one. Hope you find it interesting. Oh, there's a hotel back here. Yeah, right on the edge of the park. They got their own private beach. They just renovated it very recently. It's a pretty posh place. It's really posh. They got a gym. They got their own pool. My wife has a card. We go there sometimes in the summer. Just kind of hang out. Let the kids play in the pool. It's a nice place. There's a lot of them. God, there's got to be hundreds in this town. You want a cheap vacation? Come to Crimea. Get you a Russian visa, tourist visa. I think they're issuing them again, or they will. Well, anything's up for grabs right now, isn't it? We'll see what happens. But maybe you can come here. It'll be funsies. Very economical. Very nice. You need to learn a few words of Russian before you do, though. It's not that hard. Please and thank you. Where's the toilet? Oh, okay, I'll mention that too. They're getting more and more where there's lots of toilets everywhere. It used to not be that way. It used to be hardly any public toilets. They're extremely difficult to find. And in the Ukraine days, if you found one, you really didn't want to go into it anyway, because it was just unbelievably nasty. I got a story about that. That wasn't here, though. That was in Uzbekistan. The foulest, most disgusting, and nastiest, horrifying place I've ever seen in my life was a public toilet in the airport in Tashkent. No, no, it wasn't Tashkent. This was in Tadji. Is it Tadji? Canabad. Okay, yeah, Tadji. Tadji was the nearest airport to where we were going into Afghanistan. Originally, they had convoys that go into Canabad from Tadji. We started flying out by the time I got in there, but had to go to the restroom real bad and went down to the toilet. All the old Soviet airports had them way down in the sub-basement, and the pumps hadn't worked in years. Yeah, I'll describe that. It was unbelievable. I'll try to be kind and describe it with some sort of discretion, but I mean, you got to hear this. This is amazing. What kind of things happen when something just left like that. Anyway, there's lots of public toilets now. They're all pretty clean, modern, nice, sit-down ones. Most of them used to be squat toilets like they have in the Middle East. Fancy ones, like in Dubai. You go back away from the tourist areas in Dubai and it's all squat toilets, but they have bidets and all kinds of really posh fitments in the stalls. Anyway, I don't know how I got off on that. It just happened. Sorry. Uncle Bildy signing out.